This is the Highly Sensitive Person Podcast, a weekly podcast for people who experience the world brighter, louder, and more intensely. Join me on a journey of acceptance of our highly sensitive traits. Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. This is episode 10 of the Highly Sensitive Person Podcast, and I'm your host, Kelly. Thanks so much to those of you who have left reviews on iTunes for this podcast. I really appreciate it. Listeners like LFG 1986, who said, "This podcast changed my life. I never heard the term highly sensitive person before, and putting a name to something I've been dealing with all my life and understanding what it means was like a wave of clarity washing over me." I have to admit, when I read reviews like this one, sometimes my eyes well up just a tiny little bit because they're so nice and they mean so much to me, because that's exactly what I'm trying to accomplish with this podcast, is to help other people learn about high sensitivity and learn to accept themselves and feel a little bit better about how you are. That's what happened to me when I learned about high sensitivity, is it made me feel a lot better about myself and be more accepting and improve my relationships and so many other things. Speaking of positive reviews, the other day my husband came up to me after listening to one of my episodes and he said, "I have some feedback about your last episode. Do you want to hear it?" And I could tell he was hesitating because he had something negative to say and he didn't want to hurt my feelings. So I said, "Of course I want to hear it, but can you tell me in a compliment sandwich?" A compliment sandwich, if you've never heard of it, is a way to give someone feedback or critical analysis without hurting their feelings so much. And what you do is you give them a compliment, then you say the negative thing, and then you give another compliment. Hence, compliment sandwich. And I'm going to use the concept of a compliment sandwich with these next 3 episodes, because I want to do an episode that I fear is going to be so negative, and I'm very conscious of feeling like I'm too negative sometimes. So that episode is going to be about hating being sensitive. Before that episode and after that episode, I'm going to do a much more positive, happy episode like this one, which is about highly sensitive people's connection with animals. HSPs are known to have strong connections with animals. We're very perceptive to nonverbal communication like body language, facial expressions, and sounds like the ones animals exhibit. And this has been really extraordinary for me recently, as I got a dog 6 months ago, and it's the first time I've ever owned a pet ever in my life. We started off by fostering this dog, and then we ended up adopting her. And when this dog first came into my life, it was a whole new world to me. I really threw myself into learning everything I could about taking care of a dog. And I felt so much empathy for her, because my dog is not a trusting, happy-go-lucky dog that licks everyone and loves to be petted. She's anxious and fearful. And I associate with that. I look at her tiny little 12-pound body, only a few inches off the floor. That's her world. That's where she lives. Who knows what she's gone through? She must have lived in someone's home, and then for some reason she was given away, or they got rid of her for who knows why. And then I think the rescue said they found her on the street, and then she probably was in a shelter for a while. I mean, that's terrifying. She doesn't know what's going on. Heck, I'm a full-grown adult with free will, and I'm even scared about life sometimes. I can't imagine what it feels like for this tiny little creature who depends completely on humans to take care of her. And when I spend time with her and pet her and look into her eyes, I feel my heart ache for her. The first night she was here, I knew it would be hard. Well, I think it's often hard anytime you get a new dog on the first night. But I knew she would have a hard time because she was going to be alone in a new place. So I stayed with her. I kind of lured her into her new little dog bed, and I sat there and petted her for a really long time until she finally seemed to calm down and relax. After a couple nights, my husband saw me doing this, and he was like, "What are you doing? Stop babying her." And I didn't think of it that way at all. I saw her as a creature who needed comforting. She's also fearful of large dogs and statues, and she jumps at the tiniest sounds. I sometimes joke that she's my highly sensitive dog. Maybe that's why I feel so intensely toward her. Because while she's not an affectionate, loving dog per se, I see her anxiety and fear, and I wish I could figure out how to help her feel better and be a happier dog. That's empathy. And one of my favorite things to do with my dog is teach her tricks. the process of starting out with tiny baby steps and seeing her slowly catch on over a period of days, and then she finally gets it and she seems to really enjoy doing the tricks. And it's like we're finding a way to communicate. We're bridging the gap between human and animal and working together, and I really get a kick out of that. Dr. Elaine Aron, who wrote the Highly Sensitive Person book, has written about this too, the connection between highly sensitive people and animals. And I'll have a link to a blog post she wrote about this at highlysensitiveperson.net/episode 10. And she says that highly sensitive people can sense what nonverbal creatures like, what angers them, what scares them, and they can sense our emotions too. And our sensitivity helps us know what's happening in creatures that can't or don't communicate in words because we notice subtle signs. Our ability to pick up on nonverbal signs puts us HSPs in a unique position to be able to help other creatures. And that's a really cool thing about high sensitivity. Sometimes I struggle to find positives about being an HSP. And with our new dog, I think I really do pick up on her signals and I am in tune to her. My experience with this new dog has been intense and fun and very fulfilling. And it's been great to discover this positive aspect about being highly sensitive. Thanks for listening to this episode. Please visit the blog at highlysensitiveperson.net. And there you can sign up for our weekly newsletter and stay on top of new blog posts and podcast episodes. See you later.